Welcome to the Purpose to Create podcast with Natasha Wright, a business podcast for photographers and creativepreneurs who want to level up as they pursue their purpose to create. Lean in as we connect, inspire, and impact you as you build and grow your business.
I'm so hyped that you're here and listening to today's show. Today's guest is Lauren Elise, a business system strategist based in Atlanta, Georgia. She started her business as a social media manager, but in working with her clients, she saw a major need for back-end support. In today's episode, we're chatting all about the importance of developing systems and processes in your business from day one. Hey, Lauren, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you here. And before we get into it today, I can't even remember, how did we meet? We met on Instagram in the DMs.
Yes. If I'm being honest,
yes,
the way that we met, I was stalking you a little bit. So I was in the middle of what are they called? I was in the middle of a mentorship, and my mentor was telling me to follow people that I would be interested in working with. And so that's how I found you. I was actually seeking you out initially. I was trying to make you a client. and then you started talking to me, and you were like normal and cool and funny. And so I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I expected. And so it just went on from there.
And here we are recording the episode together. I'm super excited about this.
I know. I'm super excited for you too, because I think we talked about doing this episode a little while ago. So I'm so happy that it's finally happening.
Yes, let's get into this episode. So tell the people who Lauren Elise is.
Yes. So if you've never heard me before, my name is Lauren Elise. I am the founder at Lauren Elise Collective. And so what I do, as Natasha stated, I started as a social media manager, and I saw that a lot of my clients, what they really need wasn't about aesthetics. It was more so about their back-end systems and just giving them more time, helping them to be more productive. And so that's what I do. I help service providers by developing systems and workflow processes so that they can have an amazing client experience, because that's what it's all about. And I help my clients to save time, prevent burnout, overwhelm, and just help them get back to doing the things that they actually love doing.
And so as a social media manager, what all did you do? And because I'm trying to connect the pieces on, you're a social media manager, and then how did you find out that your clients needed help with back-end support?
So that's a great question. So what would happen is I would create the graphics and the captions and all that stuff. And then they would attract clients, and then they couldn't close the clients. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have a proper pre-booking funnel to actually nurture and prepare the clients to become clients with them. And so I found that I was doing all this work, helping them to attract the clients, and then they would completely drop the ball. And I found that through that, but then also because they were so disorganized when it came to providing me with content and to actually getting me the graphics, because some of them wanted to provide the graphics. They were they just weren't on top of things. And I realized that was a recurring thing in all of my clients. And so I realized the real problem here is not your social media. It is your productivity level and being organized. And so that's how I transitioned.
Okay. So now that you discover what the real issue was, how did you transition into really being a solution to your client's pain point? Because here's the thing, I feel like with entrepreneurs, period, we feel like we want social media, but what we need is system strategy in place.
Yes, you are 100% right about that. So the way that I pivoted, just to be honest, is I had to get rid of all my clients, which was probably like the most painful thing, to go from having like 10 to 15 clients down to 0. So that was like the short answer. But the reason why it was such an easy pivot for me is because when I was working in corporate America, this is literally what I was doing. they didn't call me this, but I was the client experience person. I was the person who put systems in place. I was the person that they always came to when they had any sort of tech issue. So it was almost like a natural progression. And if I'm being honest, that was what my coach told me. She said, it doesn't matter what you're starting off doing, what you're going to end up doing is something that you've always been doing. And I didn't realize that when she told me that, but this was just a natural progression for me. I've always been the go-to person with my family and friends, the problem solver, the person that puts two and two together, strategizes. And so I just pivoted by saying, look, Lauren, this is your natural gift. This is what you've always done. Stop fighting it. And so I started working with one client and then two clients. And I saw that the impact that I had on their business was so much bigger than when I was doing social media management. And I just ran from there.
Isn't it funny how we run away from the things that we feel we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's not what I want to do. But we run away from the things that are our natural gifts instead of leaning into them, because that's where you end up really colliding with your purpose.
Yep. You're 100% right. Because I think what I thought initially was systems are boring. People know they need to have systems and organization, all that stuff, but they don't want to do it. It's going to be a hard sell. That's literally what I said out loud. This is going to be a hard sell. Social media, that's an easy sell. Everybody wants that. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you're not even ready for that level of eyes on you. You know you want it. And so honestly, I just thought it was an easy sell. And I knew systems would be a little bit harder, but I knew it would make a bigger impact. But you're right. It is something that I ran away from, but I'm so glad that I came back.
And so once you made the pivot to doing this, what did you encounter any challenges, or what was your process to help you really narrow down? Because now that you saw all of these pain points for your clients, you knew that you needed to help, but how did you narrow your focus on what to help them with?
So I realized, that's a great question. I realized that a lot of clients get stuck in, so I won't say everyone, but a lot of my clients knew how to attract the clients and they knew how to do the work. The bottleneck came from onboarding them, getting the clients into their system seamlessly. It came from dropping the ball where the client would become a client and they would forget to ask the client for stuff, or they would forget to have their team do certain things. And then at the very end, they would completely drop the ball with asking for testimonials, with closing the gap. And so I realized that it was the start, kind of the middle, and the end is where they would drop the ball at. Like, they were amazing at the service they provided, but the actual client experience is what always lacked. And so I realized, okay, that's where I need to start. I need to be able to do something for my clients that help them with the client experience from the moment that they hit the book button to book a call with them. And because that was where they were slipping at. And so I started to put systems together for them that would accomplish that. And so the main service that I offer for my clients is Dubsado. I put Dubsado together for them. For those of you who don't know, Dubsado is a client management system. And so I would completely build out Dubsado for them. That took care of the onboarding, the collecting the invoice, the documents. And then I would go in and map out the rest of their processes through standard operating procedures. I don't want to get too techie there, but through putting those procedures together for them, is how I was able to kind of hit all those pain points. I was able to hit the beginning, middle, and end by putting together all those processes for them with my own little spin on it.
And so I know you said you don't want to get too techie with it, but I think it's really important for us to do.
Okay, well then let's do it. I just didn't want
into SOPs and standard operating procedures. Yes. I feel like that's a huge gap that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially creatives, that we really don't focus on a lot. We don't understand the importance of it. And we never really make time to do them and put them in place. But I think now more than ever, it's really necessary for us to really take the time to focus on SOPs. But a lot of people don't know what they mean and why they matter. You don't have to get too technical, but if you can dig a little bit deeper into what is the SOP, why do I need it for my business?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm glad you circled back to that because I know that it's important to talk about, but so I'm so glad you asked that. So SOP is standard operating procedure, and standard operating procedures are literally a document where you house all of the steps in your processes. So the most recurring tasks that you do, from hiring people to onboarding clients, offboarding them, even what you do when you're actually in the working phase of working with them, writing all of that down step by step. First, they book a call. Next, we get on the call. After the call, this happens. So just that step-by-step process is what an SOP is. And SOPs are super important, no matter what you do in your business, no matter what industry you are in, no matter what process you want to put in place. That is why with my clients, I used to do the implementation first and then write out the SOPs last. Now, whenever I work with a client, the first thing we do is hit those SOPs and map out the process. Because what happens is when you map out the process, that's when you realize if there's gaps. That's when you realize, oh, this is why this is or that has been happening because I forgot to add this step in. And the reason why they're so important is because when you go to hire someone, for example, if you want to hire an assistant, you can literally just hand them your SOP and they can complete the task without having to constantly bug you about what to do next. And they literally keep the entire team on track and prevent things from slipping through the cracks. Because like I said, I'm all about the client experience. And by having those SOPs in place, every client gets that same treatment and everyone gets they all get the same treatment when you have SOPs.
And what's the difference between SOPs and workflows, or are they the same thing?
No, so that's a good question. So the workflow is literally the process that they are going through as they are in the actual service with you. That is the workflow, the things you're sending them, the process you're sending them through. Whereas the SOP is actually a document, a document that has all the steps written out. It may have links in it that link to other pieces or other parts of your business, but it's literally the document, whereas the workflow is the process that you're sending your clients through. That's a good question, and I hope that I explained it.
No, it was clear. No,
okay, good.
And I want to highlight that part too, because with the SOPs, think about it like this. If you were ever to bring someone on to help you in your business, whether it's a business manager, a virtual assistant, or you expand your team and you have more people, you don't want to be the only one to know what you do. You want to be able to hand a document over to someone who can come pick up and execute the things you would do and not skip a beat. Like, God forbid, if you have a death in your family or you get sick or something like that, you want to be able to have a tangible document to give to someone so they can still run the back end of your business as if you were still doing it yourself.
Exactly. Or like, even if you got a virtual assistant and things didn't work out and then you got to get a new one in a few months, you don't want to have to retrain them from scratch. Just give them this SOP, and that takes away like 80% of the training that you have to do.
No, I totally agree. And I want to talk a little bit about bringing a virtual assistant on board to help, because I really think it's important for us to also be okay with outsourcing parts of our business so it can free up our time to do other things. And I know that you have some experience with virtual assistants and really understanding the value that they bring to creative entrepreneurs and to be an extra pair of hands to allow creatives to go and do creative things and not worry about the back end of their business. So if you can just really share some insight and wisdom really around, I'll speak for myself, and you know the struggle of mine. I have a hard time of letting go of work because I feel that no one will pay attention to the level of detail that I would in my business. And so I don't have confidence that I'll find somebody who's passionate enough in my business to care about the things I would care about in my business, such as client experience and onboarding and SOPs and offboarding. And I don't trust nobody enough to give them that work. And so I know that is a lot of conversations I have with a lot of creatives that we hold on to our work and we don't trust that someone will have that same level of passion. But I feel like it's a new season where we're going to have to let go of some of the things in our hands to allow people to help us so we can grow our businesses the way that we need to. But so I want to speak to that about outsourcing our work so it can allow us to thrive more in our business?
Well, yeah, I mean, because, let's be honest, if you are being the photographer, the assistant, the web designer, the graphic designer, and you're doing all these things and you're never outsourcing it, but let's, speak to virtual assistants specifically. If you're doing all these things and you're never outsourcing it, the thing that you're missing out when you're not delegating it to like a virtual assistant is you're missing that other way of thinking. Because I know, particularly with my virtual assistant, and this is something that I had to learn. The beautiful thing about having a virtual assistant is maybe they don't do it like you, but maybe they have another perspective. And that doesn't mean that your perspective is the only good perspective. They can have a totally different perspective and a different way of seeing things that sometimes with my virtual assistant, I find myself saying, oh, I didn't even think of it like that. Oh, you're right. No, you don't do it like me, but the way that you do it is probably good too. And so, but it also comes down to the way that you vet them, because I literally had to write down everything that I want done in my business and find a person that matches that. And so if you have all the skills that I need, what it may come down to is the way that I train you. It goes back to having those SOPs in place, because sometimes what I notice about, and this came from when I was starting as a virtual assistant, sometimes it's not the virtual assistant fault. Sometimes it is the way that you're training them. It's your lack of systems. It is your lack of consistency in your business. And sometimes that's really what it boils down to. Sometimes it's you and not them. And so understanding that before, and having systems in place and SOPs and all that stuff before, because you can't bring a virtual assistant in not having any systems and expect for them to flourish. And so those are all the things that you should be considering before you even think about hiring a virtual assistant. What do I actually want them to do? And then when you get one, allowing them to be great at what they're great at. If you hire them to create your graphics, don't try to take over the graphics. Let them create that. Give them the hex codes, give them all that stuff, but allow them to create that. If you hire them to manage your inbox, let them manage your inbox. And now you can focus on the revenue generating activities and actually making money in the business, because that's what your job is as the creative, to come up with the ideas. Let your virtual assistant implement them, and just let go of that control, because really that's all it is. No, it's a control thing. That's so yeah, that is the advice that I would definitely give people, to have those systems in place and let your assistant or whoever you hire, let them do what they are great at. Because it'll save you so much time and so much stress, to be honest.
Right. And, you hit the nail right on the head. And I think I want to rewind and go back in case people were doing other things and listening to in the background. So I need to say it again. You have to have your systems in place first before you could think about bringing on a virtual assistant. You cannot hire a virtual assistant or outsource your work to someone else if you're not clear on what your own processes is. You will find it very difficult for you to explain to your VA what you need them to do if you don't know yourself.
Exactly.
No,
exactly. You're 100% right about that. And that going back to like your very first question of how did I know that it was time for me to pivot into this, or how did I kind of make the transition? I was doing social media management, but I was also doing general VA work, like inbox management and all that stuff. And so I would find that I would struggle with my clients. We would go back and forth, or I would complete a task, but it wasn't done to their liking. And at the time, I used to get so down on myself. But looking back on it, and even when I started to pivot, I realized it's because I didn't have the proper guidance, the proper instruction. There were SOPs, like there were, it was like, what was that? I don't even think I knew what they were at the time. So I couldn't even tell them that they needed it. And so that is another reason why this transition has been so easy for me, because I was a virtual assistant and I know exactly what, not just the virtual assistant, but what people need when you go to outsource to them. I know the things that they need and why it is so important to have systems in place for that. So coming from that world, it made me really realize this is what is missing. This is why people struggle when it's time to delegate.
You preaching right now. I know a lot of us is about to get our SOPs in order so we can start outsourcing our work.
Please do. Please.
And so in that same vein, once we have our systems in place and we're ready to outsource and we are like, yes, let's do this. What are some tips on how we can vet VAs?
That's a really good question because a lot of times they look good on paper. So so what I did when I was vetting my virtual assistant, it isn't just because for me, it's important that you know how to use the systems that I use, like Dubsado, G Suite, all that stuff. So what I found to be important is asking questions that prove that they know what they're talking about. Don't just ask me if I know how to use G Suite, if that's the thing, or if I know how to use Adobe Illustrator, whatever it is. Ask the kind of questions that you would only know if you were actually using that software. I found that to be super helpful for me because I at one point hired a virtual assistant who told me they were good at something until it came down to using it. Also pay attention to the type of language that they use when they talk about it. Are they saying, oh yes, I am familiar with that? Things like that, it helps me out as well. And then also giving them a trial. And one thing that I did do, because someone did it with me, is, okay, we talk about the technical part of it. Are you good at these systems? Do you know how much experience do you have? But then one time when I was working as a virtual assistant, someone at the very end, when they were deciding between me, I think, and one other person, they literally said, let's just jump on a call and talk. They didn't want to ask me any questions about the position. It's let's just talk. We talked for like 30 minutes because she was trying to gauge if we are a good personality fit, because that is super, super important to make sure that on a personality level, can we deal with each other every day? I'm going to be all up in your business. I'm going to see your finances. I'm going to see your back end. Can we actually deal with each other? And so that's definitely something. I took that away from her. And now I also do that when I'm thinking about hiring someone. I want to sit down and talk to you and make sure that we are going to be a good fit personality wise. So those are just a few things that I would suggest that you do when it's time for you to delegate or outsource.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your insight on that. I thought it was really important only because I know that I'm in that season too, and I know I'm not alone. So I thought it'd be really helpful, especially now because a lot more people are thinking about outsourcing work and things like that. So wanted to just kind of have your expertise.
Outsourcing is really the key to growth. It is the key to, it's really, because when you start to outsource, you have that mindset shift of, okay, there are other, because I definitely understand where you're coming from when you say that you feel like only you can do what you do. That's when you start to have that mindset shift of, okay, it's okay to delegate. There are other people who don't do things the way that I do it, but the way that they do it is great too. And so you gain that wisdom when you start to outsource.
Right. And to be quite honest, I would want them to do it better than me because you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's the goal.
I want you to do it better than me because the way that I've been doing it by myself is not, I need help. And that's
the purpose of outsourcing, so that you can grow, and you grow when people are doing things amazing. And if they're doing it better than you, then that's a win-win.
Listen, a win-win. So let's talk about the client experience and as it relates to, business systems and because business systems are a part of the client experience, right? The client experience is not just about gifts.
Yeah.
There's not about gifts. The client experience is more than gifts. It helps us to be able to attract the type of clients that we want. But in order to understand what that is, we need to know more about the client experience and why it's so important for us to even pay attention to as it relates to business systems.
So yes, the client experience is so key, because I don't know how many of you guys have ever gone somewhere where you felt like you were paying more money for something you could have gotten cheaper somewhere else, but because the experience was just so amazing, you kept going there. Or if maybe the product was trash, but the experience was so good that you just kept going. And so that is literally why it's important, because it builds loyalty. It builds trust. So like I mentioned a little bit ago about making your clients feel like clients from the moment that they book a call, and not necessarily looking at them as a lead. looking at them as your client because they showed interest in you. And so just doing things from the beginning, like making sure that they get like a welcome email or like a little video from you explaining what the process is going to be like. That is all a part of the experience. And that is you massaging the client into saying yes on that call. And so also going back to the systems that we have in place, whenever you think about the technical systems that you put in place, the beauty of that is you're putting them in place in advance. So that means you have the time to really sit down and think about, okay, if I use this tool with a client, if I'm sending out these emails to a client, let me really sit down and think about the way this is going to come across. Let me test it out and all those different things. And so the client experience, like I said, it builds trust and it also builds confidence. Because if you know that you are taking such good care of your clients from the time they book a call to when they actually become a client, all the way through to you offboard them, you can be confident in knowing that they are going to refer you. They're going to act as your street team. You're not going to have to do a whole lot of selling when you focus on the client experience. And then also, it affords you the ability to raise your prices because yes, we are doing this for the love of the clients, but we are also doing this because we want to be paid. Let's just be honest. And when we combine our amazing service with our amazing client experience, that is a formula for being able to raise your price, because it's not enough these days to just have a great service. Yes, a great offering, but it's also super important to make sure that we are nurturing those clients, prepping them, massaging them, and really showing them that, look, I care about you. Even before you make this investment, even before you ever spend money with me, I want you to know that I care about you and I am here for you. And the way that I do that is through my client experience.
No, I love that, because even if you don't book me,
you're
still going to get the same.
You're going to remember me.
You're going to remember me. And when you go with the other person, you're going to be, we get this all the time as creatives.
Yes.
I wish I would have went with you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have spent that extra money to invest in you, which is why
Yes.
I never suggest lowering your prices.
Yes.
And this comes from somebody who was a habitual price lower. Is that a word?
I was too.
I will always lower my price because I felt like, gosh, I killed it. Like they had a great experience, but they went with somebody else because they were more affordable for what they, for what they can afford. But then I realized that, wait, why am I lowering my prices? Because I'm affordable to the people who can afford me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so, I had to change my mindset, but it took me years to get to that point.
Yeah.
It took me years to get to that point because, and to be honest, when we lower our prices and we get in that cycle of working with people, and I'm trying to be very sensitive to what I'm trying to say. When we lower our prices to try to get clients, what we end up doing is we not devalue ourselves, but we devalue ourselves. And then we start to lose confidence because then we don't, once we lower our price, then other people are not booking us. It can go both ways. Even when we lower our price, people don't end up booking us. Or we lower our price and we get the same type of people who are not the people we're trying to attract, because and we get in this cycle. I had a season like that in my business. I would lower my price because I felt like, well, I'm too expensive. I felt that way. Mm-hmm. Why am I counting somebody else's coins?
Thank you. I was just getting ready to say that. No, that is so true. Why do we count other people's coins? Like, how do we know? And I think what did it for me is when I always go back to my coach. I found out when I first started working with her that the package that I had put together that I just thought was amazing. I think I was charging $1,000 for it. And she told me that she was charging $5,000 to do the same exact thing. And I was like, just like what you just said, she is affordable to the people who find her affordable. So I just love that you said that, because it's so true. When we lower our prices, we are training people to expect discounts from us. And we are training people to not be able to, or to feel like they don't have to pay our full value. And like you said, we just start attracting people, lower value clients. I hate to say that, but that's kind of what it boils down to.
It is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just is what it is. And when you get stuck in that cycle, it's hard to get out of.
Oh, yes.
It's so hard to get out of.
Yes.
It took me years to get out of it.
And I'm telling you, every single time, and it never fails. And when I think back on it, every single time I lowered my price, that was the client I didn't book. That was the client who said, I got to think about it. That was the client who said, okay, send me the proposal and I'll get back to you. That was the client that would say, oh, let me get my card. Oh, I can't find it. I'll get back to you. Every single time I offered a discount, those were the clients that I could not close.
Yeah.
So I wasted my time for nothing, lowering my price.
Exactly. And I'll add to that, even from my own experience, those ended up being the clients that unfortunately were the most difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You are so right.
The most difficult to work with. So when you find yourself in those situations where you're like, well, how much can you afford? Okay, I'll take that. And then they want more from you than what they paid and expect you to give it to them because we felt for whatever reason that our work was not worth the demand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that fear that we are not deserving of, and it really stems from our belief around money. Not going to get too deep on that either, but it really just stems from our belief around money and our belief around what we are worth. And nobody would ever pay me that much to do this. And I think where it really comes down to is because I can put together your systems and your all that stuff with my eyes closed, and because I can do it so easy and so effortlessly, it makes it easier for me to be able to lower my prices for you because I'm like, oh, that'll only take me 15 minutes. It may have taken me 2 years to figure out how to do it in 15 minutes, but it only takes me 15 minutes. And so I feel like, oh, I can give you a little discount. And now they're telling their friends, oh, she only charges this much. And then it just starts attracting more people like them, which is not what I want.
So before we wrap up, I wanted to know if you have any just last words of wisdom when it comes to the client experience, ways that something that we can walk away with that we can implement to help up level our business systems.
So yes, that's a great question as well. So the thing that I want to encourage all creators to do, because I know, like you said, as creators, it can be a little bit daunting to have to worry about the systems. So the thing that I would definitely suggest is that take time out to really focus on your client experience. I know we've been talking about that, but really take the time out to really think about the experience we are providing our clients from day one. Think about is this an experience that I would want if I was on the client's end, and really sit down and build out things for that. Because like you said, it's not just about sending the client a quick gift. It is about making sure that they understand what's going on, that they understand what the process is going to be like. Because if a client is on the phone with you and they pay your retainer and then they don't hear from you again, that is so scary. So I want us to focus on affirming their purchase, helping them to realize that they made the right decision by investing in us, by investing in them too. So of course, a gift is great, but what's also great is them hearing from you, you following up with them, checking on them. Even after they are done and you've offboarded them and you guys aren't working together, I send my client emails at the 30, 60, and 90-day mark, just saying, hey, how are you doing? Give me an update. I do all of that with my clients. And so I want us to start focusing on that and not just focus on the next client. And I can't tell you how many times I was working with someone and they did all this stuff to get me. And then I could tell that they were focused on getting new clients because what they were doing with me started to slip through the cracks. So just making sure that from beginning to end, that experience is so tight that even if they don't hire you, you know you did your best and you know that they will not forget you. So that is probably the biggest gem that I could just drop on you guys, is to really put real thought into your client experience.
No, I love that. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
it's always a great time talking to you. We always have some great conversations,
Girl,
some great
yes.
It just thanks for just being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that you had me. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm super excited about this next announcement.
Yes, I am too.
So tell me, what do you have going on?
So I know we've talked a lot about the client attraction and client experience. And so I am going to be releasing the 1K attraction system. And it is literally about helping you build out the client experience from, like I said, from the moment they book a call with you. So what the client attraction is, it is one, it is a 3-part workshop. So I am going to be training you from the foundation of how you should shift your mindset around client attraction. And then I'll be showing you my signature pre-booking funnel, which I casually mentioned a little while ago, of just nurturing and prepping those clients. You will literally hear me talking about that and giving you that. And then it is also going to be about, for those of us who may not necessarily have a website just yet, it is going to be something that I call the $35 website. And so in that bundle, outside of getting the actual workshop, you are going to get templates from me. You're going to get swipe files of the actual emails that you should send to your clients when you are in that pre-booking phase. And also, you'll be getting, for the $35 website, I am going to be in the workshop showing you how to create it, but I'm also going to be giving you the templates for putting it in place. So it's literally the entire package is going to be drag and drop. So the workshop portion of it is going to be the strategy, and then you'll get the templates to put everything that I'm teaching you in place. And so I'm super excited about it because this entire package is built around attracting those clients, nurturing them, and then closing them before they even get on the discovery call, because I am all about having the clients 80 to 90% sold before they even get on the sales call with you. And that is what this bundle is going to help you do.
And, you do such a great job with doing that in your own business, which is why I wanted to highlight that. And I know you didn't want to bring attention to it, but I had to highlight that because it's so important that you really practice what you preach in your own business. And so you see that from the time you're on your social media, whether it's on your feed or in your Instagram stories, on your website, you really practice what you preach. So that's why I'm so happy that you share from a place of knowledge, mistakes and things that you've learned along the way. So thanks for sharing that with us. And tell us how we can stay connected to you after the show.
Yes, so I am most active on my Instagram, Lauren Elise Collective. Lauren is Loran, Elise Collective, and that is where I hang out the most. I also have my website of laurenelisecollective.com. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Lauren Elise Co. But the place that I am most active is my Instagram, and that's where you guys can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and we can get to know each other.
Awesome. And she's going to get all your business systems all the way
together. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Boo. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Purpose to Create podcast. Share, like, comment, or review this episode. Check out the show notes at www.purposetocreatepodcast.com and connect with us online at Purpose to Create.